Otkud je pedofilsko čudovište dovlačio djecu iz Europe?
This is Matthew Day, senior online editor of DP World. Hello and welcome.
Hello, great to be back.
So looking at these files, first of all, it's a very big file dump, so thank you for helping us sort through all of it. But what do you think is the clearest way Central and Eastern Europe appears in these files?
Well, when it came to the files that I went through, because I wanted to get away from the big names, like there's a preoccupation now with trying to find connections with big politicians, rich people, and I wanted to look through what the files say about how the Epstein network operated and how it operated in Central Europe.
So when it comes to, omitting the names, when it comes to the countries, what countries in the region surface most often in what context?
Well, if we take the country we're in, Poland, it turns out like Poland and in specifically Warsaw was a bit of a hub for the Epstein network. For example,
Poljska.
If we take the airport, if you go through the files, there are hundreds and hundreds of references to airline tickets. And these airline tickets are bought for, I presume, young women, girls. The names are redacted most of the time. And they are either Polish and they're just flying out of Warsaw to either to Paris, which was a popular destination for Epstein, or to New York, and from New York they'll be taken to the island in the US Virgin Islands. And or they'll be for people traveling from, say, from Lithuania, from Ukraine, from Belarus, and they come to Warsaw because Warsaw has extensive communications network, so they could just move on.
Right, so when it comes to Polish involvement, we do have some expert soundbite on this particular topic. Let's take a look.
We will first analyze the material available and their threats, because we know that, as the media indicate today, the second and third most prominent figures in Epstein's entire staff were Poles. Finally, we have traces that this recruitment of women, possibly including minors, took place in Poland. We'll certainly have to apply to the United States for access to documentation that has yet to be disclosed. We would also like to ask victims to come forward, if there are any in Poland.
So it does sound serious. Like I mentioned, Poland has been used sort of kind of like a transit hub, but how does it fit into all these patterns? Are we talking about the sourcing transit, or are there even like some other involvement when it comes to Poland?
Well, if you look at the files, Central Europe, Poland, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, was essentially like Epstein's main hunting ground for procuring young women and girls. Like there was evidence given to the FBI, this is like in 2019, 2020, and the witness was saying that Epstein was procuring, or what Epstein's associates were procuring about 5 underage girls from Central Europe a week in the years like 2002 to 2004.
Gledalci.
5 a week.
Woody Allen.
Do the sums, you're talking about hundreds. And
Bill Gates.
All the way up until Epstein's arrest in 2019, we are talking about hundreds of people. And a lot of them underage girls as well. Some of them were not, but all of them were young. We're talking about school age, maybe 18, 19 at the oldest perhaps.
Oof. And how do they get in touch with these girls? How does that work mechanically? Do they just scout them out on the street? It could be easy.
It can't be like, I think, Epstein seemed to have developed quite a good network within the region that could go out, scout, go to model agencies. He even sent out his associates, for want of a better word, his assistants, and they would actually just drive around.
Čak su otvarali i navodna sirotilišta gdje su pomagali djeci. U to vam je uključena jedna crkva iz Amerike u Rumunjskoj čini mi se da je izbačena ova Erika Krk iz Rumunjske radi toga, pa to je cijeli skandal u vezi toga. Tamo su dečke zlostavljali. Tako da to vam je cijeli taj ring i ta Erika Krk, ona vam je povezana sa Izraelom. I taj Charlie Kirk, on je isto bio za Izrael dok nije skužio ko su i šta su. I nije htio suradnju nastaviti s njima, pitanje da li je uopće i mrtav i tak dalje i tak dalje.
around. I found an email today from, can't remember the man's name now, but he was in June and July 2009, he sent an email to Epstein saying, I'll take these 2 months just to drive around the villages of Poland, Czech Republic, Slovak Republic and Hungary and just look around, trying to find girls.
So like actually just drive around looking for them.
Drive around looking for them as well.
Čovječe,
Is
znači
there any
lov,
pattern when it
hunting.
comes to like stopovers through these Central Eastern European country hubs?
No, but if you, like Poland was a hub, but there are actually lots of flights going out of, from Prague as well, from Kiev before the war, you could still fly, but because Poland had this sort of, had the best communications, I think Warsaw was the main hub for this. But it was just part of the network, though. We have to stress that this was a very extensive network that covered the whole of Central and Eastern Europe. And his agents, his people, were going everywhere, to villages, to the capital cities. They were contacting model agencies. There was another email sent by one of his associates, and he had interviewed somebody who was in charge of various of the network of model agencies, and this man suggested to Epstein in the email that we should buy into this company because then then we'll have a network of model agencies in Poland, Czech, Slovak republics, he said, and this will be a source of fresh faces.
And so, okay, so what happens next? They drive around or they utilize these model agencies, they get in touch with the women, and how do they then lure them into their ring or trafficking or whatever they do?
I think it was just a matter of going up to them and say, hey, I work for a rich man, do you want to be a model? I can help you. Mm-hmm. Bear in mind that the network often targeted.
Odmah me vraća na te crkve koje kak ti evangeliziraju ljude po vani, to smo mi radili. Dijele traktate i gore je adresa crkve da se ljude dovuče tamo. Isto, uvjeren da činiš dobru stvar, želiš ljudima pomoć, želiš da se ljudi spase, da budu iscijeljeni, da budu ovo, da budu ono. Znači, grooming je u pitanju, vrbovanje, regrutiranje. Regrutiran si da regrutiraš druge, a toga nisi niti svjestan. Međutim, ova Sotona je točno znala kaj radi, oni su znali kaj rade. Oni su ganjali te curice točno sa ciljem da ih zlostavljaju. Tako da, a i ovi, te lažne crkve, ti pastori, oni imaju lažne skrivene motive u svom srcu, a ljudima se predstavljaju da im žele dobro. To je ono kaj ljude namami, to je ta mrkva s kojom te unutra namame i onda se iživljavaju na tebi. To ti je to. Ne na svima, to svi ljudi ne vide, ne primijete. Ti moraš biti blizu toga da bi ti vidio lice te Sotone, ti moraš biti tamo. Isto kak ljudi pojma nisu imali za ovog zlostavljača ko je kaje. Ali cure koje su bile tamo prisutne jako dobro znaju ko je kaje.
Women or girls from poor backgrounds, broken families as well, so there was a financial imperative for them.
Ranjiva skupine su ga ciljali.
And at the same time, I can offer you this sort of glamorous lifestyle. You'll be drinking champagne, you'll be going to parties, and it was an attractive lure. And also there was an offer, I can help you with your education. Epstein did that.
Da, ista priča.
You want to move to the capital city, I can rent an apartment for you, set you up, and if you come from a broken home, if you come from a poor background, this is very attractive.
Right. The part about education kind of perplexes me because, as I understand, in Poland there is free education up to a certain age, as opposed to in America, where when you think about university education, now that's going to cost an arm and a leg. But how does that work in the CEE region?
I think it's just the offer that he could help finance it. So if you're a poor person from a village in Slovakia, if you get an offer to go to a good university, Epstein would come up with the money, or he said he would come up with the money. Whether he actually did that, I'm not too sure. And he said, yeah, I can set you up, rent you an apartment for a year. He makes that promise in a couple of emails. Set you up apartment for a year, and that's a huge thing if you come from a poor background. And if you want to be a student in that city, then that's an enticing move.
Right. Now, Poland has actually launched some investigation as well. Can you help us understand in what aspect and what angle have the Polish authorities now begin to look more closely into these files?
Well, for the Polish authorities, it's not just a horrific affair involving a paedophile. It's a horrific affair involving a paedophile that could have security implications for the Polish state if there is a Russian involvement in particular.
Ma kakva Rusija, znali su u Poljskoj šta se radi.
Epstein was just like a big blackmail merchant, but he could get rich and powerful people to his island. He could film them in compromising positions with underage girls, and then you can blackmail people until here from the end of time with the amount of material he could have. And if some of those people were, say, maybe important people in Poland, important business people, important political people, important diplomatic people, or people who have relations with Poland, then that's a big concern for Poland. So that's why Poland has set up this investigation. That's going to be one arm. Of course, another arm will be whether it was criminal activity, like I mentioned earlier, that Epstein set up this network of
Zataškavanje, ajde, molim te da nisu znali u Poljskoj desetljećima kaj radi.
They were involved in human trafficking, sex trafficking, and therefore they need to be tracked down, caught, and face justice.
Have anything substantial came out so far?
Not yet. But,
još ne.
We shall wait and see, of course. There are so many files.
Right.
Like there are 2.5 million to go through, and apparently there are a few more million which could be released at some point.
Daj zamislite vi koliko je to dokumenata, ljudi moji.
To find, to take that inquiry a step further.
Koji je to posao bio?
Well, it's going to involve an awful lot of time just going through these documents.
Radit to sve, bilježit to sve, snimke.
More of the files. Apparently the US Department of Justice has, I heard 3 million more files, but maybe I heard wrong, but it's a lot anyway.
Kakvi 3 milijuna je tek objavljeno, 20 milijuna fajlova je u pitanju.
It's not just the names of the victims who are redacted, but it's other names, people who are actually involved in the network, their names have been redacted. And those names need to be unredacted, so you can see who was involved in ordering these
od prvog do zadnjeg.
Involved in trafficking them. And if we want, then we get a bigger picture, and then hopefully that will lead us to senior people.
Padate sotone proklete.
Right. If we're looking for any sort of prosecution, because one of the things that we've been observing and also caused some stare is the fact that with all the names that have already been released and the things that people are already know pretty much with a degree of certainty, we still haven't seen any real major prosecution yet. What are they waiting for? Are there any evidence that's needed before anything could be done about it? Or are there other reasons why people seem to be dragging their feet about it?
It depends which country you're looking in. I think in the United States, people are saying that I've been saying for a long time that the Department of Justice is dragging his feet. And the reason it's dragging his feet, they're saying because Donald Trump is president, he himself might be implicated in some way within the Epstein affair. He's mentioned an awful lot in the files, but maybe there's the suggestion that he's far deeper involved, and he doesn't want scrutiny because scrutiny could just destroy his political career. That's the United States. If we go to other countries, things seem to be moving a little bit.
Kako političku karijeru ide u zatvor, ono.
I think the Metropolitan Police have already initiated an inquiry, an investigation into Peter Mandelson, the former ambassador to the United States, but also former business secretary of the previous Labour government, into him allegedly leaking sensitive material to Epstein. And that's a criminal investigation. So things are going on in different countries, but at different speeds, and no doubt other countries as well are going to look into it. As we said earlier, Poland has already launched an investigation, not a criminal one. And eventually maybe the United States
Zatačkavanje.
start to initiate further criminal investigations.
And it goes back to that.
Joj, samo da žrtve progovore, daj Bože.
It's really hard to find that specific angle you mentioned convincing, as Epstein was arrested during Trump's first administration. Somehow, of course, these files didn't come out, but also during the entirety of the Biden administration, where Epstein passed away, there was an attempt at
Nije on ništa umro, on je ubijen i to za vrijeme Trumpove administracije. O čem pričaš ti, dečko?
Perhaps Trump might be implicated. Why had the Biden administration not have done anything with those files, but instead chose to kind of avoid having this being in the media sphere altogether?
Well, of course, then you can dive into conspiracy theories as well, that they're actually people linked to the Biden administration or Democratic Party donators were part of the names that have been redacted and buried.
Aha.
It's not just a Republican issue. I'll be surprised if it's just bad Republicans, they're probably bad Democrats or bad Democratic supporters. So it was not in the interest of the Biden
Obiteljske vrijednosti, republikanske. Mrš.
The Democrats are in opposition, so maybe there is a certain amount of interest in trying to shove things along, but
Thompson i ekipa, ona.
I mean, the whole Epstein scandal, it's politically neutral in a way. It just involves everybody. And it involves people from, I'm sure, from both parties in the United States, donors to both parties in the United States.
Domoljublje, sa figom u džepu.
Range of people across the world as well.
All right, we're not talking about like a political divide, but more like a class divide. We're mostly looking at people with a lot of power in very high places that's very wealthy as well.
Yeah, who also have a lot to lose. The higher they are, the further they have to fall.
Exactly. And you also mentioned the UK just a bit earlier. Now, there is this rumor circling around that this Epstein issue might actually lead to Prime Minister Starmer's resignation. Of course, we don't know if that rumor is substantiated, but what has been causing such a big stir in the UK?
Well, for Keir Starmer, the problem being is that, first of all, he appointed Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States, knowing that Mandelson was a former friend of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And people are saying, come on, is this a fit man to appoint as a key ambassador as well? He associated with a convicted paedophile. You can't appoint this man, but first of all, Keir Starmer did that. And then there are huge questions on his judgment. And this is a personal thing as well. It's not like
Znači, taj je umješan.
judging policy, whether his
I taj je
policy
umješan.
laws, inflation is good or bad. This is like a very clear call. And people say, look, it's just manifestly wrong to appoint him. And that's a very bad
I
thing
to
to do.
đubre je umješano.
And then people are asking, well, what else does Keir Starmer actually know? Does he know that Peter Mandelson continued to
Pa on je umješan.
communicate with Jeffrey Epstein after Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction in 2008? Apparently they carried on in communication up until about 2011. Was Keir Starmer aware of that? He says he wasn't. He says that Mandelson lied to him. But
Pa šta ga ne
we need to
opozoveš?
question his judgment here. And all this comes at a very bad time for Keir Starmer. He's been under huge pressure of his handling of the economy, huge pressure of his handling in his broader relationship, Britain's relationship with the world. So this is like just putting more and more pressure on him, and there's a lot of anger within Labour backbenchers. Apparently, some are talking about maybe we should try and oust him.
Pa maknite ga, nego šta?
Organize a palace coup in some way, and this has prompted his supporters to warn that if you do that, we could have a snap election, and a snap election for Labour at this right moment would be a very bad thing because they're tanking in the polls. Right. They really are. So in a way, Starmer supporters are using this as a ploy to make his critics sort of back off and just, don't push a leadership contest and just kind of hopefully sort of ride this one out.
To se u Hrvatskoj treba dogoditi.
What are the chances in your estimation that this actually
Nova
happens? Do you
Hrvatska
think it's
stupa
just
na
a rumor
scenu.
being floated, or there's something actually here?
Well, there is something there. Apparently, Angela Rayner, who stepped down from the government, was it last year? She has indicated that she would be interested in possibly running for the Labour leadership if that post arose. Of course, a lot of ifs there, a lot of the word possibly, but the very fact that she maybe has indicated is basically an admittance that, yeah, she's prepared to throw her hat into the ring. And the fact that even people are prepared to do that is an indication that Starmer's position is quite fragile at the moment, and he's going to have his work cut out to ride this one out. And of course, there might be more revelations. He's being pressured to let
Oh my
the
god.
public know what documents the British have on Mandelson's relationship with Epstein, because Britain has its own documents. And if they come out and it reveals that Starmer knew far more about Mandelson's relationship with Epstein, that could just blow his premiership out of the water, and he'll be sunk before you know it.
Right, so it does sound like there is still a lot more to it. The rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than we know so far. Well, thank you so much for helping us dig through all that we haven't.
Eto, nije čudo da te crkve koje podržavaju Trumpa, ti evangelici, takozvani pentekostalci, karizmatici, kako da se nazivaju i etiketiraju, to je kult. Kult je u pitanju koji je doveo Trumpa na vlast, rade na tome, kao što sam već rekla, 250 godina. Propali projekt, isto kao Izrael. Znači, propali projekt, napravili su toliko štete da je to zastrašujuće i nije čudo da te crkve i ti pastori koji prikrivaju pedofiliju, neki od njih su sami pedofili. Znači, desetljećima se to prikrivalo, nakon 40 godina, evo sad izlazi vani u Americi, što se tih mega crkava tiče koje milijarde zgrću, milijarde. I koji podupiru Trumpa i u crkvama drže političke kampanje, a izuzeti su od davanja poreza državi. Kao neprofitne follow organizacije, čovječe. Čem pričamo, ljudi moji? Znači, to vam je kabala, to vam je network, to je mreža tih sotona koji djeluju kroz crkve. Kroz crkve i kroz politiku, kroz takozvane državne službenike. Znači, to su sluge sistema Antikrista. Eto, nemam šta drugo reći. Ne svi u sistemu, hvala Bogu ima i dobrih ljudi u sistemu, ali ovi gadovi su na vrhu. I zato zemlja stenje. Zato zemlja stenje pod njima i ko kak veli, kaže, ne znam di negdje u izrekama, kaže da čovjek koji po opomeni ostaje tvrdoglav, kaže, slomit će se i neće mu biti spasa. I kada su bezbožnici na vlasti, kada nema pravde, narod stenje. To se u Hrvatskoj događa. Međutim, borit ćemo se protiv toga, borit ćemo se protiv vas, sotonjare. Vi ste već izgubili, tako da vi ste unaprijed izgubljena stranka, tako da stranka, partija, to jest strana. Vi ste gubitnička strana kad god okrenete, jer istina i pravda će pobijediti. Uvijek. A vi ćete se naći i na optuženičkoj klupi i pred zakonom, pred narodom, ali ono što je najstrašnije je upasti u ruke Boga živoga. To vas čeka. To vas čeka, sotone, jer se ne kajete, ustrajavate u svojem zločinu i satro vas Bog Jahve svemogući.